Jose's first. He says, is it a good idea to buy niche relevant domains from somewhere like expired domain.net with hundreds of thousands of links and 301 redirect to the Gsite? I haven't done anything like that in a long time. We used to do that a lot. When we talked, I think about this last week, actually. It was called domain authority stacking, or within the last few weeks we talked about it. And that's what I used to do a lot of times. That was a method that worked incredibly well, way back in like 2013, 14 timeframe. And we would buy a lot of times drop domains, so closeout domains that went through the auction period and everything and didn't get bought. And they ended up, being on sale you could pick them up for $5 or $8 per year. And what we would do is look for like Chinese domains. A lot of the times they'd have sometimes like tens of thousands and sometimes even hundreds of thousands of subdomains that so there was all these backlinks built into the domain and you could buy it. And like, it might've been a really spam domain, but the idea was to buy it and then do what's called a wildcard redirect from the subdomains to the root. And then the root would redirect to, like a subdomain of a domain that we were trying to manipulate the domain authority of. And we could boost domain authority, sometimes 40 points in one Moz cycle refresh, which was about, I think, 21 days or thereabouts. So about 3 weeks. And it was insane and it worked incredibly well. However, we got away from doing those kind of tactics several years ago now, when when Marco and Dr. Gary first developed the RYS Academy strategy or method, because we were able to get just as good of results using like spam links from Dedia, for example, and things like that to the SEO shield. So the drive stack and the tier 1 entity assets. So we got away from doing that. I suspect it would still work as long as you're only redirecting to like the Gsite, for example, or one of the entity assets, not to your money site though. You want to make sure of that. But again, I haven't done anything like that in quite some time. But I can't imagine why it wouldn't work. Marco, what's your opinion on that?
I don't use it, so I would have to speculate. I haven't done it probably in longer than you have, because we came up with RYS Academy to introduce our own domain authority, not even domain authority, our own authority and trust according to the ranking score algorithm and the ranking score pattern and the distance graph. That's what we went after. So when that came out and we realized what was going on, we just started developing that, and we got away from spamming our own subdomains. So now I'm not even doing subdomains. I'm going straight to the root on the domain, because I don't have to protect the money site. The money site is always protected because I'm not going to build links to it. Well, I do, because press releases are link building. I don't recommend for you to do it, guys, unless you know what you're doing. But then everything else, it takes place through the Gsite and drive stack. Why? Because it's the belly of the beast. We're getting Google protection. Why wouldn't we? If Google is kind enough to provide us with something in their domains and subdomains, including the GMB assets, right? The GMB site and the post, why wouldn't we use those instead of going and grabbing somebody else's spam domain and running it through a 301 to the Gsite and drive stack? To me, it's much easier to just do my own stuff the way that I know how. If I need to do an extension of the Gsite for example, local relevance or for service relevance, then I'm going to do that. And at each step of the way, I'm going to have Dedia hit it with link building anyway. And I've seen, guys, look, I've done 2-3 million backlinks through it's funny, man, you shouldn't do that. But I've done 2-3 million through a drive stack and Gsite. I know Rob did a 10 million test. And that one was from Fiverr, by the way. And that one's still dancing, I think. We just talked about that the other day. But I know this other one that we did, it just hit, it went bananas. And it's still going. I mean, it did the hockey stick and 10x and then 5x after that. So it was just fantastic to see how well link building works through these relevant assets or extensions of the entity, right, of the main entity, how well they take all of this link building. The press releases, the media center that you get, the T1 branded assets, the ad ID assets, everything takes link building really well. So if I have that, I don't have to go and spend like what he's talking about with hundreds of thousands of keywords and then redirecting it. It might be a costly, or it might be like a ticket to disaster. You never know. I would say do your due diligence. Really look into those backlinks. Sometimes you buy the domain and like the links aren't even there. So you really have to know what you're doing. Is it a good idea? I have no clue. I don't do it anymore. I do my own thing, my own way. Like Bradley said, we develop our own flavor, and that's what we do. We drink our own Kool-Aid. What we talk to you on this show about on Hump Day Hangouts is actually what we do. Adam just said it. We go and order from mgyb.co. We order the link building. We order the press releases. Everything that we have, we use. And so in order to do something like this, it would require me to go and test and see if it's still working. And I'm not going to take the time out to test something new if what I'm doing is working so well. I always say you can't get better than number one unless you go for zero position. Just takes a little bit extra work. But if you're already one in maps and one in organic, how much better results are you expecting than one?
Yeah.
So that's my answer. I can't answer that any different. I would have to speculate on whether they work, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, one thing I would caution against that is, when we were talking about domain authority manipulation or from years ago, the relevancy wasn't as important at that point. Now it is. It's much more important. And so that's part of the reason I don't do that anymore, because I'd have to find domains that had relevant backlinks to it. Like, in other words, it was a topically relevant domain when it expired or got dropped or whatever, if that makes sense. And back when I used to do that sort of thing years ago, that relevancy really didn't matter. It was about manipulating the domain authority metric itself. And that was, I know that's a proprietary metric, but it worked. And when, now we teach and we practice relevancy, right? Activity, relevance, trust, and authority. That's what Marco calls art. And that's the absolute truth. And that's why we do everything with the SEO Shield. And then we can buy even spam links from, the tools that, link building tools and things like that Dedia uses, because they're relevant, right? They're topically relevant to what they're linking to, which would be our money site, our SEO Shield. Tier 1 entity asset. So again, it's about relevancy. Although, like I said, I don't know that it wouldn't work. We just don't. None of us have really done any of that kind of stuff in quite some time. So you could always try it. Marco always says nothing beats a try but a fail, right?
Yeah.
So
try it and see, man. Do your due diligence. There are good websites out there that you can pick up with a really strong backlink. Now, when you're weighing websites, dude, don't just look for the link, right? Where is that link coming from, and is it relevant, like Bradley just said, to whatever it is that you're doing? You may have one that seems to be stronger because it might have more links, but if you get one from let's say it has a link from Wikipedia, and the Wikipedia link, whatever page that's on, if it's relevant to what you're doing, you want that. That's what you're looking for, versus something that's more generic. The more hyper local, especially in local, right? The more hyper local that you can get with those links, Chamber of Commerce, local government, anything like that, that's really going to enhance your entity. And you're going to see those work much better than generic links from what you would assume or think are stronger links. And they're really not. Activity, relevance, trust, and authority beats anything out there right now, including page speed, by the way.
Yeah, that's going to be the next big thing we get a ton of questions about for sure.